All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checkered TV, where tonight we have the Area 51 IndyCar Oval Series here at Iowa Speedway. So this is going to be obviously one of our shorter tracks here tonight. 135 laps is our scheduled race distance, and hearing fuel mileage just in the upper 50s into the 60 range or so. That obviously could really come into play tonight on strategy side of things. I don't think we'll see any crazy fuel mileage attempts, but you never know some of these guys. However, after race number 6, Eric Schaus was the winner in that one. At the moment, it's still Mark Murphy with a 53-point lead over Matt Wagner. Nick DeGroot there in third, 60 out, and then Eric Schaus in fourth, 62 out, and then a bigger jump to Christopher in fifth at 86. However, again, this is of the starts they've had. We haven't accounted for any drop weeks as of yet. So at some point in the season, once those drop weeks start kicking in, those drivers that maybe had a bad race, maybe missed a race, that gets kind of wiped off the slate, and then it won't even count towards the overall season. So that's going to be a big one to keep an eye on for tonight. I think about low 20s here this evening, as I know a couple guys weren't able to make it this evening. So unfortunately, we'll definitely miss some of those guys, but I think 20-ish cars at a track like this, I think definitely going to put on a good show. Looking at the weather right now, showing 66 degrees ambient temperature with 106 degree track temperature, and then track time at 1:12 p.m. So it's only going to get hotter over the course of this afternoon. That could definitely play a role in how these cars handle. And again, we talked about how the aero and everything on these cars, so these guys are going to need to figure out where they need to position their cars, find the clean air. Is it the top? Is it the bottom? This is a very bumpy track at portions, so these guys are going to have their hands full. So I'm going to bring in Andrew Wood. Andrew, I'll say it's one of the short ovals here tonight. What are you expecting to see tonight?
Yeah, good to be with you again, Gael. And I just want to start off by apologizing to all the viewers over the last couple weeks. There seems to have been a couple of sound issues that I was having. I was testing everything out beforehand, so hopefully you'll get me uncut tonight and not cutting out or glitching or sounding like I'm in some sort of tunnel. So I just want to immediately come out and say that. Feel free to comment if my sound seems to go awry again, and we'll do what we can to fix it. But yeah, we're here at Iowa. Very short oval. These laps tick off very quickly. Many different lines can be used around here, so expect the cars to kind of spread out and try and find out where the car works best, just based on how the car is set up. You can really make inside passes, outside passes. You can kind of do everything around here, so it'll be pretty cool to see what happens here. I did also want to comment that you mentioned the points there, and I'm sure even without the drop weeks, Mark Murphy seems to have a stranglehold on this championship right now, and it's time for one of these guys to step up and really start to put forth a mid-season run here to start collecting some points.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I say last week was actually by far his worst race, I should say, of the season. Up until that point, his worst race was a fourth at Michigan. However, at Las Vegas, it was a tough night. Starting position and finishing position. Started 21st, finished in 14th. So things just didn't go his way in that race. But so I'm looking at the timings right now in qualifying, and I think he's working on rectifying that right now, because at the moment he's showing on the outside front row, so we'll see how that stands, but definitely going to be jumping right back up into that qualifying position. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see again, and just kind of the comers and goers and strategy, like you'd mentioned too. I mean, right now they're running 17-second laps, so there's definitely going to be that risk versus reward of how aggressive do you want to be. Like for me, I'm afraid. I don't want to be aggressive. I want to fuel save in the chance of that there's a caution, because I think that's my best chance of getting a good finish. Whereas, there's those other guys that they want to be up front. They want to control this thing. I want to try to go as far as I can, maybe have a chance of trapping the field lap down. So it'll be fun to see who has what strategies tonight. But before we get to that, we got to pull up our starting grid for tonight's event. And it is going to be Eric Schaus on pole position over Mark Murphy by just under half a tenth. And then Christopher, Matt Wagner, Charles Teed are top 5. Jeff Heisong, Jim Herrick, Casey Pahutsky, Baron Glover, Joe Branch are top 10. And then in 11th, you have Nick DeGroot and Rick Sanchez. They're next to him. Frank Irwin Jr., Daniel Durazo, Nick Wheeler, Shane Coker, Mason Mitchum, and Edson Santos are those that put down a qualifying lap, and a few drivers opting to start further back and not qualify will be Joseph Morales, Hugo Galaz, and AJ Hobson. We did have some craziness over the course of the season, course of the race, I should say, last week, and talked to some of the drivers. And again, we talk about like the camaraderie and all that kind of stuff, Andrew. And there were definitely some guys that they were just gutted the way things happened. Like for Hugo, with that weird incident where he was kind of just literally driving through cars, and he said on his end there was nothing there. And so it's one of those things, just unfortunate situation where there's nothing he can do because he can't see any of that. And so that was a tough one. And obviously the wheel issues that we had noted on the grid too. So again, I really do love though the camaraderie with these guys, and they kind of talk post race, and if things go well, don't go well, they kind of bounce it all between each other, and everybody's trying to help each other out too, which is always good. But so unfortunately that's why Raphael's not here. So but yeah, we'll see how things lead off here. The field's just about to roll out of pit road.
Yeah, another noticeable name that we see all the time that's not here tonight, it seems, is Craig Forsyth. I wonder if he's got some other plans for the evening or something like that. But yeah, we usually see him up here, and he's kind of in the same championship conversation. So shame that we don't have him on the grid tonight. But did you notice that 3 of the top 4 qualifiers are 3 of the top 4 drivers in the championship run as well?
Yep, I was eyeballing that too, and yeah, I can confirm for Craig Forsyth. Yeah, he's had some friends that he was gonna go get together with, so he's got some real life stuff going on, and can't do his sim racing stuff, unfortunately. So we'll miss Craig tonight, but I'm sure he'll be keeping an eye and see how things go. I just noticed Mason Mitchum actually jumping to the pits there in the number 3 car, so we'll keep an eye, see if he can at least start from the pits. However, it's a short grid here. Let's say it's a short track, so the pace car, I believe, is going to make that sharp left. Or nope, we're going to go one more time around, so one more pace lap, get the field all sorted here. So that'll give us one more moment. But yeah, so it looks like 21 cars officially in the race, 20 on track, 1 in the pits with the 3. So it's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, definitely going to miss Craig. I was curious to see what he was going to think on the fuel mileage side of things, because he's always that guy that I kind of earmark as my fuel mileage man. But I mean, even our pole sitter, though, I feel like, Andrew, I mean, Eric Schaus, I think that was actually one of the things he did to gain a ton of track position. We obviously talked to Nick DeGroot as well, and he mentioned the same thing. He just went full fuel save, and it kind of wound up just being a blessing in disguise. So we'll see. Maybe it'll strike twice for someone here in the field.
Yeah, speaking of Nick DeGroot, another poor qualifying attempt by him. He's a championship contender. I know we're already talking contenders, but another poor qualifying from him outside the top 10. But as we see week after week, he always finds a way to get back up front again.
Yeah, he really does. And yeah, that said, though, I mean, we're about halfway through the season, just about, so it's about time to start thinking about those points. But pace car's off, waiting for the green flag to fly, and it's going to be Eric Schaus leading the way into turn number 1 for the first time.
We had a nice outside pass by Daniel Durazo there, kind of caught Rick Sanchez sleeping, so barely squeezed himself in there, but picks up a position along the way. And we have a nice clean start through the field. Yeah,
so I'd say this is, for me, turn 3 is always the trouble turn. Just got to still build up the speed. This is where those tires are still cool, but so far it looks like everybody's gotten away pretty cleanly. And Mason Mitchum, I can confirm, is indeed on track still.
I believe he might have had a connection issue and missed the grid, but yeah, he joined a little bit late, but he's back in the fight. So now we just got to hope that caution comes out, he gets his lap back, and he'll be back in the fight again.
Yeah, the one nice thing he does have is obviously lots of clean air, so he doesn't have to stress too much about all of that. But yeah, right now, though, like we were talking about, though, they're in the 17-second bracket in qualifying, just in the 18-second bracket right now during the race. One of the closest battles right now. You mentioned Daniel Durazo. He's definitely been on the move in that number 2 car. He's up 6 spots, getting right there around Joe Branch. Now eyeballing Casey Pahutsky, seeing if he can get another spot. And talk about the clean air, fastest car on track the last time by was Mason Mitchum in the 3. Shows you what clean air can do for you, no matter where you are in track pace-wise, or position-wise, I should say.
It doesn't surprise me. if I can find my words properly. It doesn't surprise me that Mason Mitchum is the fastest car. He's throwing all sorts of fuel-saving possibilities out the window and just trying to catch the pack to ensure he stays on the lead lap there. Eric Schaus has definitely taken this field by storm there, and I'm watching his last few laps. He seems to be sticking to the upper lane for the most part, not even bothering to go down to the white line. So it looks like the temperatures outside are pretty hot. So hot track usually means that you want to do your best to protect your right side tires, and that just means going to the top right away.
Yeah, and then there's also, obviously we mentioned this track very bumpy, and really it's, to me at least on the stock car side of things, the very top and the very bottom in turns 1 and 2 are the bumpiest parts of the track. So I'm not sure how well these cars are taking to it, but that's definitely one of those things that these drivers will have to kind of be aware of. But right now, I mean, tires definitely are in a good spot. This is a really good gaggle right here, though. We just talked about Daniel Durazo. He's just going to clear there, get in front of Casey Bahutsky, but put Joe Branch right there, Jim Herrick's right there, Baron Glover. So, I mean, we've got a whole bunch of cars in a small packet right here as you see Bahutsky is trying to cross back over, get on the inside, but the momentum on the top is going to continue to prevail there. We're talking about Eric Schaus, though. I just looked at the timing and scoring, and it's actually been Mark Murphy. He's really closed the gap these last couple laps.
It's all about trying to keep on top of the tools in the car, the weight jack or the roll bar. And, you know, when you're the leader, you kind of don't really have much to play with because you're just kind of in the clean air trying to find the best line and trying to maintain the lead, basically. And when you're Mark Murphy, you're trying to play around with different lines, and you have a better chance of finding something that might work, and then playing around with the tools makes it a little better. So it does look like Murphy has a tiny bit more pace right now than Schaus, but it's way too early in this race right now to start showing your cards. So I'm sure Murphy's kind of playing around saying, okay, if I stay on this line, I might get side by side, I might clear him, but there's no need to really do that yet. And as I say that, it looks like he might actually be charging for the lead.
Yeah, so he's got the look. We'll see about the momentum. Christopher, he's going to have the best view of this. We'll hop on board and watch from that 13 car. You see Murphy right now has the nose ahead. We'll see if he can complete the pass, and it looks like he will. As you can see, oh, Stouffer flirting with the wall there out of 2. That was extremely tight for that 13, but we know Christopher is definitely not shy from running that second and third lane, even if available. So he's saying in that just that little battle, how quickly though he caught right up to those 2, and so now we got 3 cars within about a half a second.
Branch and Durazo continue to battle middle part of the top 10 there, side by side for a couple laps now.
And they're working on Haisong here too.
They're looking at Jeff Haisong also, yeah. Just kind of in the mix as well. It's it's a small track, but you can still put the cars almost 3 wide here if you really want to.
Yeah, there's definitely plenty of room, and I would say, I mean, look right there in the back there. You've got Baron Glover. He's, again, still in that sandwich. He's got Hutsky there, Herrick, Edson Santos there right behind. He's up 6 spots from his starting position. AJ Hobson's up 8 spots from his starting position. So definitely some pretty high climbers there with, other than Daniel Durazo, adding Edson and AJ to that mix as well. So right now this is a really good group of cars here. And then a little further back is that 5 Rick Sanchez. So he's one of my super speedway guys that we run with on Thursdays and Sundays. But I really love the fact that he's giving these a try. He's giving them a fair shake. I think it's just, if it's got 4 wheels and he can race it, he's going to give it a try. So definitely love seeing Rick out there. And then a little further back, Hugo Galad's a good little fight with he and Frank Irwin Jr. And also Nick DeGroot again. And I'm going to say, we were talking about Nick being way off pace before last week. I'm going to say this is a strategy at this point. I think he's doing the fuel number here, probably a map 5 situation in my mind for the 89 car.
Stole the words right out of my mouth. I was just watching his lines, and that is definitely indicative of that. I don't think he's struggling, kind of like we were talking about in the interview last week with him, that he kind of jumped on last second and didn't really have a good feel of the car right away, and it took him a little bit. This definitely seems like a different sort of Nick DeGroot driving style that we're more used to.
Yeah, I think there's some strategy involved here. As we'll jump over to Shane Coker. He's trying to get around that number 5 of Rick Sanchez. And then a little further up here, Baron Glover, Edson Santos, all working together here, trying to find a way around one another. Daniel Durazo, Charles Teed, same thing here. Durazo's going to get inside. Can't clear Teed, though. But this is Durazo trying to get into that top 5 in that number 2 car. And then Mark Murphy, he's starting to stretch it out a little bit too, Andrew. He's over a second now off of Chris Stouffer. And then Stouffer's...
just made the pass.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah, Stouffer maybe caught the wall a little bit off 4 there. But same thing, they go side by side, and they're bringing Matt Wagner right into the mix as well. So it seems like once you get side by side, it just pulls that third car in line right up to you.
Matt Wagner is definitely right in the midst of this battle right now. He's started in, what is that, P? Yeah, he
Right
did start
yeah,
P4.
P4.
Right where he started. I thought he started a row back, but yeah, you're right. He's kind of maintained that 4th spot, and it seems like he has more pace than that group behind him, starting from 5th place Charles Teed backwards. So the top 4 seems to have broken away a little bit, and Branch and Terrazos continue to battle right behind him.
Yeah, this has been a really good fight with these 3, Teed, Durazo, and Branch. I was saying, yeah, definitely, like I said, Daniel's definitely been gaining a ton of spots from early on here, but I think maybe starting to burn the stuff up just a little bit, because I think it seems like Joe Branch, I think now maybe has the pace a little bit more in his number 28 car. But again, though, it seems like the outside line, kind of like you talk about Vegas, the momentum shift. Right now, it seems like momentum is definitely on the side of that upper lane, kind of keeping the speed built up in it. Just saw Jim Herrick there rim riding it there through 1 and 2 as these guys continue to fight for a position as well. So, I mean, it's hard to jump around right now because there's a lot of close action going on from up front here to the mid-pack. And then even right here with Joseph Morales, he's been working with Hugo Galaz. Mason Mitchum's right there. And then actually, I'm looking at my time and scoring here. So actually, Mason Mitchum came out and was on the lead lap. I apologize in the 3. I thought he was a couple laps down. So actually, he is on the lead lap. He's now back up in that, starting to catch the back of the main pack. You see Nick DeGroot, he's just kind of dropped anchor here. So I think he's going kind of ultra save, which, you know what that means to me here, Andrew? Remember talking about someone trying to do a fuel strategy thing here? We talked about that 60-ish laps of fuel. Nick's going to try to split this thing, I think, in half.
I think he could pull it off if he continues the pace he's at. If you cut out a pit stop, doesn't matter if you go a lap down or not, because you'll lose probably close to 2 laps here. I believe it's a lap and a half, a little bit more than a lap and a half if hitting under green. So if he falls back to a lap down, don't count him out just yet. I'd like to see if he can pull this off.
Now this is gonna be really fun to see, and it's that risk versus reward like we've always talked about, where how much can you back it off without hurting yourself too much trying to save the fuel. So there's gonna be that fine balance that he's got to find, and I would have assumed that he would at least want to stay in the draft of these guys, but I think he's decided, you know what, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all in. As you see there, Teed had a little moment there off of 2. That allowed Daniel Durazo to clear, Joe Branch to clear, and so now it's going to drop Teed a couple spots in that 1 lap and move Daniel now up into the top 5. Joe now up 4 spots into 6th, and then a little further back there, by far the highest climber now, AJ Hobson up 11 spots, and then Edson Santos also 9 spots in front of him. So we talk about those comers and goers, and yeah, these guys have been making some really good moves here early. You see Edson, again, you see the momentum change. That's the big difference right now, is obviously shorter distance down on the inside. However, can't really throttle up quite as well. But right there, you can see Edson just cleared, and I think right there early, Jeff Heisling, I think, probably cut him a little bit of slack, probably rolled out of it a little bit there. Like, okay, yeah, you're faster. I'll fight you later on.
This field's definitely starting to spread out now. The top 4 have about a second between the top 3, and Wagner's hanging on to the back of Stouffer quite nicely there. Doesn't really look like he's setting up for a pass quite yet, but just stay right there and don't lose too much time to the leader, and you could find yourself still in the running here when we get to these green flag pit stops.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what Daniel Durazo's lap times look like here in just a moment as well, because now he's got that clean air we've just been talking about, and last time by he ran a 15 to a 28 for Murphy. He's going to come around this time, and it's going to be a 33, so a little slower. Joe Branch, though, he ran a 13 to the 28, so there's definitely time being had by these guys a little bit further back. So now that they've got the clean air, I'd love to see, does Joe Branch, Dan Durazo, do they maybe have like top 2, top 3 pace in their cars? Because now Stouffer's kind of fallen off of Schaus, which is putting him into the risk of getting caught by Matt Wagner, who we just talked about. But I'm still, I can't go away from this 9th to about 14th battle. These guys, I say from Teed right there in the front of the pack, back to Baron Glover, these guys are all within not even a second of each other. And it's been a really good fight with them up here. And you see Hobson now, I think he just got around Teed, if I'm not mistaken. So say Hobson now continuing to march forward as well, now up 13 spots. And then a little further forward, Edson Santos up 11. But man, I'm blinking through this thing though, Andrew, and I mean we're already at lap 38 here, about to start 39. We talked about maybe about 60ish laps being that fuel window. I mean we're well beyond halfway through the fuel window now at this point.
And it looks like Nick DeGroot's getting closer and closer to losing that lap, which, like we mentioned before, is not the end of his race unless he gets trapped a lap down with a caution of some sort. But I think Nick's planning on this race going green and trying to see if he could just cut out a pit stop altogether. So I'm interested to see if his strategy plays out here. We haven't really seen a nice fuel save situation go on before, but you could see that who's that? Murphy. Murphy's leading now. Yeah. Murphy is closing in on him quite fast here. He's only about 10 to 12 car lengths back, so Nick's about to lose the lap, and the rest of the field up ahead of him is not that far either. Basically, one straightaway away is that pack that we were talking about that's in such a close battle. So the progress of Murphy coming through the field will be halted, and that will close up the top four even closer.
Yeah, I've been watching lap times, and basically Nick is somewhere between 2, 3, 4 tenths slower a lap than Mark Murphy. And when you're running 17-second laps, that's drastic. You can see here, Nick's not even going to fight. He's just going to let Mark Murphy ride him by. So yeah, that will put Nick one lap down. The bonus though on this is for Nick is right now, like you said, he is the only car one down. So if there was to be a yellow, he would get that lap back and get the free wave by. So yeah, but like we talked about, I'm really curious to see how far can he take this thing, and of course now though he also has to I think he needs to turn the wick up a little bit, because he needs to make sure that the leaders don't get to the next lap car and then put him where he doesn't get that free pass. So there's going to be a lot of things that these guys are going to have to try to figure out. But again, I'm going back to this pack here because look at this gaggle here from Jeff Hysong, Charles Teed, Baron Glover. I mean, these guys are just all on top of each other.
It seems like Charles Teed might have burned off all of his equipment. He is the cork in the bottle right now, holding this entire pack up, and he's kind of using every lane of the racetrack, so no one's really able to do anything here. And the lap times for this pack are plummeting fast. They are plummeting very fast. Last lap for Hysong, for example, was 18.9. Baron Glover finally clears Hysong. Here comes, is that Coker? Yeah. Shane Coker is about to come by as well, so
I think Teed got the
wall. Yeah, so you could definitely tell that Teed is struggling with that car out there. That pit stop can't come soon enough for him.
Yeah, so now it's the same thing, though. Like right now, if you look where Jeff Hysong is, he wants to try to get by Teed, but he can't really do anything because there's a car to his inside, and then as they enter turn, there's the 5 car. He's going to get around him, and it's just really, you have to be extremely patient right now. Yeah, there's Teed. He said, nope, I've had enough here. I'm going to hit pit road. Do you need to mention, from what I understood in the driver's meeting, it sounds like pit road entry will be... Oh, that's just salt in the wound there. Teed's going to hate the fact that I caught that. I'm sorry, Teed. But he's going to jump to the pits, and I'm going to say that's probably going to be him saying, you know what, I'm good for tonight. So we'll keep an eye and see what the strategies are going to be, but I was hearing that pit entry is going to be out of entering turn number 3, I should say. Jeff Hysong is going to come on in here at lap 50. So they can go further, but I think this is maybe that attempt of trying to do that undercut, if you will. But look at Daniel Durazo. He has caught Christopher. And again, he is running some really, really good lap times here. So he and Joe Branch are definitely ones we're going to keep an eye out over the course of this run.
Don't look now, but Mark Murphy has caught that pack. He's not on them quite yet, but he's right there, and he's going to start getting that dirty air feeling. So it's close enough to the pit stop window now that you may see the leaders dive in just so they don't have to deal with all this traffic. So we'll have to keep a watch on that also.
Yeah, I'll be curious. Shane Coker is on pit road, you see right there. That is Jeff Hysong rolling out of pit road. And again, he was I think that lap and a half mark you're talking about is probably just about right. Because actually with that, Jeff Hysong is actually now down 3 laps, again, with him having the distance that behind the leaders from the get-go. What I do want to see now, though, is new tires versus old tires. A little further back there, Daniel Durazo is still fighting with Christopher, trying to get that 4th position. Matt Wagner's been able to sneak away a little bit, and oh man, Chris just flirts that wall so much there out of 2 and 4. I'm going to jump back over to Jeff Hysong and see, and yeah, right now not really able to do anything, or maybe just doesn't want to force the issue on the leaders. That's the other thing too, is there's usually a pretty solid amount of respect given for the front runners here, but you do see there Jeff does clear Shankoker, and I think again that's also partially try to get these tires built up. Now he's looking a little bit more comfortable trying to look underneath Eric Schaus here.
And it's always a little nervy when you see these drivers that are trying to come through the field on fresh tires. They don't want to disrupt any sort of battles going on the track, but you also need to, equalize your lap times and get something going here to make sure that you don't lose more time once everybody pits when your tires are slightly more worn than the guys around you.
Yeah, Casey Putsky
is
also
losing a little bit of time. Yeah.
No, and you're exactly right on that, and that's for Jeff Heisong. It's really important for him because if, let's say, there's a yellow that comes out right now, he's 3 laps down, and so he'd only be able to get a wave by to 2 down. Versus if he can get that one of those laps back and then get the wave by, he would then jump to just the 1 lap down. So it's a big difference for just the not even half a second that he's got off the back of Schaus and Mark Murphy here. So. But yeah, as you can see, though, a lot of cars are starting to come in and head out there. Most recently, we just talked about Casey Pahutsky. I think Mason. Oh, we got a big check up there. I think that was Casey Pahutsky. Oh, look at Joe Branch. Oh, he saved it. That's going to save a few drivers that have already pitted. Joe's not going to be happy about it, but a lot of these guys are going to be very grateful that he was able to hang on to that car. Unfortunately, though, it cost Joe about 4 spots, I think, from that big slide.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Joe, and now his tires are cooked, so he's got to really consider that pit stop sooner rather than later, just to make up for any time that he lost during the spin, and then any more time he's going to have with the kind of overheated tires that he's feeling.
Yeah, look at Daniel Durazo already at the back of Matt Wagner. This guy is on a mission right now. We talked about how quick he was at Vegas. Obviously had the bad luck, and he is going after it now. But we're going to jump back up front, though, because Mark Murphy, Eric Schaus, now they started to have a battle here up front. I think, again, working the traffic a little bit. Eric got by Mark got back by him. But again, you can see the pressure being put by these 2 guys behind. Stouffer's on pit road as we speak. And here goes Schaus. He's going to look to the inside. And I say, also this will force Mark here. At some point, he's going to have to decide, hey, if I got a pit, I might have to get behind Eric here. So this is a pretty important battle right now to see, can Eric stay on that left side here of that 69 car?
Well, Stouffer might have made a really good decision here to throw it down pit lane, because these cars racing side by side for the lead is really hurting their lap times as well. So it could be a net benefit when these 2 cars pit and Stouffer's on the fresh tires that he might be able to jump both of these guys. So that'll be another interesting little wrinkle in this battle as well.
Yeah, and Kelly Stouffer's rolling out of pit road now. So I think that is officially just the 1 lap down. Here comes Schaus. He's going to dive in there. And same thing, you got to make sure you don't slide back up the track. Looks like he's done a good job of that. And actually, no, I lied. It's 2 laps down. So yeah, so you do lose 2 laps here under a green flag pit stop. So we're gonna now jump back to our leader, Mark Murphy. You see 3 wide there in front of him. And again, I mean, just all this traffic can't be helping his tire wear. Daniel Durazo did get by Matt Wagner. So again, just really impressed with that. And remember we talked about Nick DeGroot doing the big fuel saving to make it all the way to a 1 stopper? We're on lap 66 here, so I mean that's already, if you split that here, we're at 132 laps that they could go. Mark Murphy, he can run, if he can go to 68, that's going to get him to 136 if he does the same fuel strategy again. So these guys are all, I mean, I was pretty much set on the nose saying, yeah, these guys are going to 2-stop it. There's some 1-stop potentials here now, so this is getting even more interesting now. I really thought that there'd have to be a second pit stop in this race, but I think these guys are going to be able to 1-stop it that haven't pitted yet. Oh, we got Baron Glover. Oh, he's around that pit exit. This is going to be a tough spot to be in. This will likely throw yellow out. We'll see if he can get it looped around here, but he's trying to do it without kind of upsetting everything. And I think he's done it. I think he's going to roll off. We'll stay under green. That was very, very close. Here comes Mark Murphy, though. He's going to hit pit road now as he had just passed the halfway point in this one. So he's definitely going on this 1-stopper. So a lot more drivers are able to make it than I thought. Look at Daniel Durazo, though. Look how much time he's just gained on Mark Murphy right there at the pit entry. Matt Wagner right there as well. This is, yeah, I'm going to be very interested to see how much these guys are able to gain or lose on this pit stop cycle, like those short pitters we talked about, like Schaus and Stouffer and company.
I'm kind of confused now at all the pace that Nick de Groot was giving up in that first stint. Then, if all these drivers are able to do this on one stop, then he really did lose a lot of time, and kind of inexplicably so as well, if you want to put it in such a way that he tried really hard to do an ultra fuel save, and all he did was go a lap down. So it's going to hurt Nick in the long run as well.
Yeah, say right now Nick is officially now up in the lead here with 66 to go. Again, still has to make a pit stop. I mean, the only thing that could go in his favor right now is, again, because, I mean, he's out, but he's only got about a 3-second lead over Mark Murphy here. Eric Schaus is on his way there as well. Oh, we got one up. Who was that up against the pit wall there? I think that may have been the 5. I'm not sure who that was. I saw someone that didn't look like they were where they wanted to be.
Smoke, yeah.
But yeah, so right now though, Nick is our leader. But again, though, I mean, that last lap he was 1.2 seconds slower. I'm very curious what's going strategy wise for Nick de Groot. Looks like he's gonna actually peel in now. So yeah. Oh, as he's going to overshoot his pit stall there, you can see he was way off track there. We'll see. I think he's going to try to reverse it back and get into pit road. But just, yeah, not the night so far for Nick that he's been hoping for. And this is, like we talked about, this is going to probably put him 2 laps down and without really any benefit from it either. So right now, I'm going to...
more time with that missing the pit road, too. So he's going to give up probably even another quarter of a lap or so.
Yeah, you're right. That could even go to 3 down. So you see Mark Murphy there just got by Jeff Heisong. That's going to put Jeff now the first car 1 down. And right now, I got to say, advantage 100% Mark Murphy. He went the furthest. He's still got the lead, and he's still got a pretty comfortable margin, too. So now Eric Schaus has a 6-lap deficit on fuel to him. Christopher's got a 9-lap deficit on fuel. Matt Wagner pitted 1 lap before, so he's not in a bad spot. But yeah, right now I think if you're Mark Murphy, you're loving life right now. You just want this thing to kind of go to the finish, no drama, because I mean he's got it down perfectly at the moment.
And let's shout out AJ Hobson, who's managed to come out of this pit cycle in 5th place. He was kind of languishing around 9th or 10th we saw before, but he's kind of also another driver under the radar that we've seen that's been kind of sneaky fast here.
Oh, and that's what I missed. I was like, wait a second, we're missing somebody up front. That's Daniel Durazo. He had a 24-second pit stop, which to me means probably a penalty on pit road. Although 24 seconds seems like an odd penalty number, unless maybe it was a 15-second penalty potentially. Usually speedings are, yeah, if you can check on that. Because, yeah, I'm showing 24.7 seconds stationary, and then pit lane time was 57 seconds to most other drivers in the 40 range. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's dropped Daniel all the way back to 10th spot, but still amazingly still on the lead lap. So, right now, this is our closest battle on track here, AJ Hobson, Edson Santos. But while we have a moment, we got to show off our wonderful cars and drivers and paint scheme. So we're going to run through the field here while Andrew's doing some sleuthing. We'll start with our current leader there, Mark Murphy, in that number 69, started second, is currently leading. And we'll inverse on the other side. Started on pole, currently running in second is Eric Schaus, last week's winner. Then started third, currently third, Chris Stouffer in that number 13. And then same thing, 4th to 4th for Matt Wagner in the number 6 car, about 2 seconds back of Chris Stouffer. Not too far back from him, though, Edson Santos up 13 spots in that number 20 into that top 5. And then AJ Hobson, same thing, not too far back as well in that number 4. He is up 15 positions in that number 4 machine. So great start for him. Joe Branch, we saw that little slide he had, definitely cost him a few spots, but sticking with it here, still in that 7th position. And then a quiet night, haven't talked about him much, but Nick Wheeler in the 88 up 7 spots into 8th. So a good night for him thus far as well with 53 to go. And then we get to that 9th position, the number 40 of Jim Herrick in that 4D racewear machine. And then we just talked about Daniel Durazo rounding out the top 10. I'd say unfortunately losing a number of spots during that pit stop cycle with whatever happened. We'll find that here out shortly. And then in 11th, Hugo Galaz there, up 9 spots in the 57 car, up into 11th. Then Jeff Heisong is right now the first of drivers 1 lap down, I believe. So wait for timing and scoring to update on my side. And actually, Hugo's now the first car 1 down, so top 10 still in lead lap. So right now, the second car 1 down is him. And as I say that, Jim Herrick on pit road. Then we'll continue on to Frank Irwin Jr. there in that number 44. He is now up to 12th. Joseph Morales right behind him in that 13th spot, up 6 spots. Shane Coker there in 14th in that number 12. Then we get to Casey Putsky in the 25 and 15th. Rick Sanchez in 16th in his number 5 machine. And then Mason Mitchum in that number 3 in 17th. Again, started from the pits, so he's had a lot of track position to try to gain back. Then we get to Nick DeGroot. Again, just not been a good night for Nick here, unfortunately. And then right now, last car on track at the moment is that 93 of Baron Glover. And say Baron was running a lot further up front, so I think we must have missed something for Baron, unfortunately, as well. But unfortunately, I say right now running in the 19th position. So we'll jump back up front. And while I was running through that, Andrew, did you find anything on our digging for Daniel Durazo?
Yeah, I was looking at his pit stop, and I don't really know what happened. He was entering his box just as Nick Wheeler was exiting his. The car just kind of, it looked like it almost shut off a little bit because you saw he was in the cockpit turning the wheel and stuff, so I initially thought he was too far left or something, and it took about 10 to 15 seconds for the car to go up on the jack, so that's a new bizarre one for me, Gael. I think we'll have to see if there's some sort of explanation in the YouTube chat afterwards, or maybe in our own team chat here to see what happened to him, because that's a new one for me. And as for Baron Glover, he was one of the cars that spun on the pit access road. I believe he's the one that you called out. So that explains his reason for being 2 laps down.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so Jim Herrick I think he decided, you know what, I'm not going to try to do this fuel save. I'm just going to go ahead and pit again. Now I know I'm good to the end on fuel and tires. So Jim Herrick's back on track. He's trying to hustle it back around. Shane Coker, he's going to hit pit road as well here with 44 to go. So some of these guys, again, they did do that short pit strategy, so they're going to have to come in again. Casey Putsky is going to be another pitted at 54, so he's going to have to come in one more time, as well as Jeff Heisong pitted at lap 48. So these guys are going to definitely have to make that second pit stop. And again, I'm not feeling the most confident for even like a Chris Stouffer. I think Eric Schaus can stretch what he needs to. He's definitely starting to put the pressure back onto Mark Murphy. He's only now 3/10 off. Same thing, though. He's got to make sure he doesn't run himself out of fuel. But I also wonder, do we think maybe Eric's trying to push Mark Murphy a little bit, try to get him out of his comfort zone? As we'll actually jump, though, now to the battle for 4th as Edson's working over Matt Wagner. But Matt's going to hang the momentum here on the outside.
Yeah, you can see that Stouffer has not let that top 2 battle get too far ahead of him. He's much closer than he was last stint. I think he's still trying to play around with different lines to try and fit himself into this battle for the end here, especially if these guys are going to go right to the end of the race on this tank of fuel. It's going to be interesting if Stouffer can get up there and try and make a little bit of chaos with those two guys up at the front.
I think Chris is going to have to save a little bit still, just with that lap 61 pit stop compared to 64 for Eric and 70 for Murphy. So I got to give a quick shout out to Seth Groover popping in, enjoying Matt's paint scheme in the 6 car, and then one of my favorite followers who's become super busy, and that's Dr. Schaus coming in and rooting him on. So hope you are doing very well. It's great to see you over here on the chat. And yeah, Eric got the win last week. He's going for another one here tonight. See if he can get 2 in a row. And I'll say I'm not sure if he knows you're spying on him or not, but. Yeah, right now he's having a good run as well, and yeah, awesome to see you on here though as well. So yeah, right now there's a couple of close battles, like we said though, Andrew. We got Mark and Eric right together, Edson and Matt. I say Edson's still trying to put some pressure on him, and they say these guys are starting to bundle back up here together as well. You've got AJ Hobson, Joe Branch trying to get back up there, and then also they're not quite even a second away from that number 20 of Edson Santos. So right now, I mean, we could have 4th to about, 7th here within not even a second or so, and not too long. So bummer jump up front, though, because the gap is definitely tightened here up front.
that pack from 4th to 7th that you're mentioning is trying to get through all that traffic, that very, very tight pack that we were watching in that first, and all seem to be very close to one another still. So it's kind of turning a little chaotic for the top 5, the bottom part of the top 5 there, all jockeying for position past those lapped cars. And you could definitely tell that there's like no clean air to be found, really. It's just a guessing game and try and pick a line that hopefully your car makes it out the other side. But these cars, as you mentioned, are being very aware of the faster cars that are coming by them. So eventually they do get past, but there's too many of them to really keep track of if you're actually battling someone for position or if you're trying to give a lap up to someone. So good on these guys for keeping it clean.
Yeah, no, I think these guys, now that, again, we've got, 6 races under our belt, it seems like there's definitely been a pretty good kind of just agreement with the guys and just kind of that building respect over the course of the season. Jeff Heisong, he just hit Perot. Remember, we talked about him pitting lap 48, I want to say it was. So that was probably about as far as he could go. And so that's going to now bring us, I'd say, we're already clicking through this thing. We're going to be 31 to go, 30 to go next time around. And again, I'd say you mentioned Stouffer. He's starting to creep himself into this mix just a little bit. Now he's within a second of Eric Schaus. Eric's dropped about a half a second now just off the back of Mark Murphy. It was down to about a tenth or two not too long ago. However, like we've also talked about, he's got some traffic in front of him, so we'll see. Again, Baron Glover doesn't have to roll over for him, but we tend to see usually these guys will play nice once they get close enough. But even at the gap that he's at now, that draft and that arrow is going to be affecting Mark Murphy, possibly making him have to change his line.
We saw Joe Branch make that move on AJ Hobson. AJ got a little high through turn 1 and 2, and Branch was able to sneak right underneath. I was more mystified by Hobson's new paint scheme there. That bright candy apple red car is very, very striking. So
I was wondering.
Good idea there.
I was wondering if my paints weren't working correctly. So I'm glad you see it too. That makes me feel a little better that I'm not on the crazy side of things. But you see both drivers there able to get around Baron Glover, and again now Schaus within about 2 to 3 tenths here. Again, close that gap a little bit more. I think that right behind them, I want to say, is Hugo Galaz. And yeah, that is indeed Hugo right there. And Hugo right now is the first car one down. So the nice thing for him is right now the leaders are about to enter turn 3. Once they enter turn 3, the next car to be lapped would be Daniel Durazo. He was at the start-finish line at that point. So there's a pretty big margin. So Hugo should feel pretty safe about the lucky dog position that he's at the moment. And I say, unfortunately for Daniel, hasn't been able to gain as much as he was able to run through the field earlier. But I can tell you, still running really good lap times. He ran at 18:36 last time. Leaders were in the 59:61s. So there's still a lot of pace in that number 2 car. It's kind of like Las Vegas again. But here we go. Battle for the lead here. Chow's taking a look on the inside.
And that's just what Stouffer wants to see, just so he could try and catch back up to this crew again. But like you mentioned, Stouffer might be on a different fuel strategy because of his earlier pit stop, and Schaus is borderline. So I'm not really sure what these cars have in store for Murphy, especially if he was able to make it all the way to lap 70 on that fuel save. But in order for him to fuel save and just keep the lead like this is also a pretty remarkable feat as well. So Murphy definitely has the car hooked up tonight in such a way that he can keep the pace even with a fuel save. And even if Schaus gets by, which looks like he's making the pass now, Murphy's definitely just going to stick to his fuel saving guns to make sure that he can make it to the end without needing to jump to the pit lane again.
Yeah, so Eric's going to take the point. And yeah, so that's the question mark now is this Eric saying there's no way I can make the fuel to the end, so I'm just going to push and see if maybe I can run Mark Murphy out? Or did Eric maybe do some really big fuel saving earlier and said, all right, I'm good to go, let's roll, and he's able to push the issue. So you can see those Christopher, he has gotten around the that number 57 Hugo Galaz, so now he's got clean air to the leaders in front of him. Jeff Heisong, again, he's in that tough spot once more here, Andrew. He's got fresh tires and he wants to use them. You can see Chris is going to play nice. He's going to give him the outside line. He'll stay low, let him swing on by. And I think same thing, though. It's like, hey, yeah, go disrupt the leaders here. That'll pull me in even more. But don't look too far off of Christopher here, though. I mean, about 8 tenths back, Matt Wagner's starting to creep into the mix, and he's bringing Edson along. He's bringing Joe along. So we're going to have about 6 cars here in just a moment within a couple seconds of one another. So this is going to get interesting in these final 20 laps here.
Just like that, we got 20 laps to go. This race is really flying by. This almost kind of seemed more like a sprint than a real actual race if you think about it. And no cautions yet, but right now I know that Schaus and Stouffer are hoping and praying that a caution comes out now that could reset the field and really give everyone a level playing field. But that's not what Murphy wants. Murphy wants this thing to keep going green till the end.
Yeah, and while we were running through looking at the drivers a little further back, Murphy got back by Schaus. And you can see now he's really fighting. I think he wants to keep that 18 of Jeff Heisong behind him. Jeff's going to want to get the spot. We'll see if Mark's going to give or not. And yeah, I think Mark said, you know what, this I can't make this fight anymore. But impressively too, I mean, look at Eric now. He's dropped a second off of Mark. So again, I wonder if either maybe that's Mark turning the wick up and saying, all right, let me actually show what I've got. Or maybe Eric pushed on. It's like, okay, actually I pushed too hard on fuel. I got to back it back down again. But now we've got a great battle here, though. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all within not even a second of each other.
And it looks like Stouffer might have jumped into a fuel-safe situation as well because, ooh, wow, that was close with Hugo Galaz. Kind of pushed up the track a little bit there, but Stouffer definitely has to have gone into some sort of fuel-save mode because he's backed this whole entire field up. And as we say that, Wagner has got the position on him now.
Yeah, Matt able to get on by, although Stouffer's going to keep the momentum built up top. And that's the thing, too, is you can probably still do some fuel saving while being able to rotate that top really well. And for Chris here, if he can get Matt and Edson to fight each other, get Joe Branch into this fight as well, that's only going to help him even further. So this is right now by far the best fight on track. Is, oh, Matt, they're getting to the outside there. Man, these guys are getting dicey with each other once more. Here you see Joe trying to figure, okay, where are you guys going to go? All right, I'm going to jump to the bottom. He's got a nose ahead of Edson here, but again, the momentum up top, that's going to allow Edson to push a little further forward. And then in that fighting, look how much Stouffer is able to sneak away just a couple extra tenths of a second, give him that little bit of breathing room, because in a couple laps' time, we're going to be within 10 to go.
This battle really is definitely heating up, and it looks like people keep trying to dive to that low line, but with these hot temperatures and the wearing tires, it's very hard to get down there and stay down there. So Joe did a over-under on Edson last lap. Edson came back and snuck back underneath him, and now Joe's got the point back again. And Wagner is just trying to hold on to the car, it looks like.
Yeah, it's like Wagner, can he clear? Yes, he will clear Christopher. Put Matt now in that third spot, trying to get that final podium spot. But look at Joe here. Like you said, he's going to try to send it down the inside. Can't quite clear, but still decent momentum. Should give him an opportunity here into turn one to clear that 13. And yeah, easily clear. I think, like you said, I think Stouffer's had to go even more aggressive on the pit strategy here. Is AJ Hobson here making a very late pit stop. So right now the battle for the final podium spot looks like it'll be between Joe Branch and Matt Wagner. Mark Murphy will jump back up front because we're getting into the single digits, but you can see he's got about a 1 second margin over Eric Schaus. So it's looking pretty comfortable for Mark at the moment. Again, still some time to go. But Joe Branch, though, he is starting to put the pressure on Matt Wagner here. Can't quite get underneath him there at a 4. You talked at the top of the hour, though, Andrew. Can somebody dethrone Mark Murphy? And right now, Mark Murphy's telling us, no, it's going to be me this season. If you want to try to do it, you're going to have to drive through me.
It definitely seems like Schaus has kind of turned up the pace a little bit, so he might be good on fuel to make it to the end. Murphy definitely is, but now the question mark is, will Wagner make it to the end? Will Joe Branch make it to the end? These guys are definitely trying to save the fuel, but they don't want to get the spot. Yep, looks like Stouffer's gonna call it here and come into the pits.
Coming to 6 to go.
Branch and Wagner are side by side going down the front straightaway, and I think Branch might have the advantage here if he finds the right line through 1. And it looks like he doesn't clear him quite yet, but these two are going to battle right to the end.
No, this is going to be a really good fight for third. You can see the polar opposite lines too. Matt running as high as he can. Joe pretty much running that yellow line in the bottom. We're down to 5 to go. Mark Murphy's just working some lap traffic right now. He's gotten around Nick DeGroot. He's already gotten around the 3 there as well of Mason Mitchum, and he's got about a second. So we're going to stay right now with this fight here for that final podium spot. We still got a couple laps to go, 4 to go here at the line. Matt's still going to hang on to this one. But yeah, right now both these guys, you can tell they're giving it everything they have, and it's gonna be one of those ones where you're gonna want to be the one to finish ahead. But I think as long as they keep it clean to the end, I think there's gonna be smiles on both these drivers. As AJ Hobson is going to put down the fastest lap just for the sake of, oh, caution out.
That's going to be the race.
Oh, and it's Edson Santos. Oh, and it's Christopher as well here. And yeah, that's going to be it. We're going to finish this thing under yellow, and Edson's going to try to limp this thing back home, but let's go back and see. Christopher had just pitted, so I'm wondering if maybe just the tires were upset or what on this one. So we'll go back and, oh, let's take another look here. Christopher's already fully, like, he's rolling again. And so I'm wondering if this is just maybe a timing misjudgment possibly. So you see Stouffer there. He's down the inside. That's an odd one. I mean, I don't...
Yeah, I think maybe Edson thought that he was clear of Stouffer when he went to turn down there. And unfortunately, he was not clear. So it was just a miscommunication sort of situation.
Yeah, I think just the closing rate was... Basically, he thought he had a bigger closing rate than he actually did, kind of a situation, and or maybe thought that Chris maybe was going to cut further down. I mean, but yeah, it looks like just miscommunication and just unfortunate mistake on that situation. So unfortunately, almost caution free, going to throw a yellow here at the very, very end. And unfortunately for that fight, though, between Matt Wagner and Joe Branch, won't be able to see that one all the way to the end. It's going to be Matt that's going to hang on to that podium spot. Joe's going to bring it home in fourth. Nick Wheeler again. He's going to be in fifth position in that 88 car. You can see, again, just the gap that those top four had over the field, though. As you can see, there's the top four all pretty close together in positions. Then you got to go all the way back there to Nick Wheeler. So it just shows how quick these other guys were running all night long. But even with that contact for Edson, I mean, he's going to broken suspension and all. He's still going to bring this thing home, and it looks like seventh position. So he doesn't have to pit to get that repaired. You usually have to pit after a couple laps, but he'll be able to get away with it. So, but we're going to be, I said, unfortunately under caution, but we're going to be bringing home. You see the checkered flag flying, and it is going to be Mark Murphy getting another win here tonight, this time at Iowa Speedway over Eric Schaus and Matt Wagner. And so, yeah, so that's going to be win number 3 of the season for that number 69 car.
You know, I might put this caution as your fault, Gael, because this is actually the first race that you didn't mention to the audience that there's no green, white checkers in this.
You're right.
In this league. So usually when you say that, it doesn't happen anyway. But tonight you should have said it, because now the whole audience was wondering, will we get one quick green flag lap or not?
I'm okay. As I'm watching Mark here, everybody's having to try to find a way to get around him right now. I think he wants to go ahead and get the shortcut to the start finish line. I wonder if he may be running a little short on fuel to be able to do a full on burnout. So I think he wants to get this thing done sooner than later. So he's like, all right, let me avoid this extra half lap or so. And so he's going to bring this thing around. So while we watch him, though, let's go ahead and pull up those final results for tonight's event. And it will be Mark Murphy over Eric Schaus, Matt Wagner, and Joe Branch. Nick Wheeler are top 5. Then Daniel Durazo again had that pit issue. Unfortunately, that dropped him down to 6. I think without that, he would have been one for sure vying for the win. And then you've got Edson Santos, again, that late contact. Dropped him a few spots, but still finishes 7th on the lead lap. Hugo Galaz, our last of our lead lap finishers there in 8th. Really good job by him, as well as I want to say he actually got his lap back. That's right, he got the wave round. So he got his lap back to officially finish on that lead lap. And then Rick Sanchez there, first car 1 down. Frank Irwin Jr. a top 10. And then Joseph Morales, Mason Mitchum, AJ Hobson, Jim Herrick, Jeff Heisong, Nick DeGroot, Shane Coker, and Casey Putsky. And then unfortunately, some tough nights there, especially at the very end for Chris Stouffer. And then unfortunately, early retirement there for Charles Teed in that number 50 there. So those are the finishers for tonight. And I was worried about maybe it was a fuel thing, but I think he just wanted to get that extra lap in. So I think he's just making it look even easier than we talked about before.
I'm actually kind of shocked that most of the guys up at the top were able to do it on the one stop when we were pretty certain that it was going to be a 2-stopper. So, it might have something to do with the temperature, also the hot track, and not really able to do much. It's easier to just kick it into a lower fuel map and just kind of roll from there and save the amount of fuel you can. So kind of took us by surprise tonight, and unfortunately we don't always get the strategy right, but these guys knew exactly what they were doing and Murphy finds himself on the top step here.
Yep, and well, I'll say the first guy we get to talk to, I'll say we can quiz him about fuel mileage right off the bat here because Matt, I thought for sure we are going to be stuck on a two stopper tonight. Not stuck on, but I thought it was going to be a two stopper. As I was hearing, like, yeah, about maybe mid 50s to 60ish or so, and then we see 70 laps of fuel, and I mean these guys basically were able to go that extra 5-10 laps to pull off the one stopper. Did you see that happening from practice, or did these guys all kind of just do a little extra Craig Forsyth thing in this one?
I guess they've been learning off his. Kind of held him hostage because he wasn't here today, and you know the Craig Forsyth, book of fuel saving. As the fuel saving, I really thought it came into play because of the track conditions. It was a little bit of warm out there, something we're not a little bit used to here at Iowa. It got up to about 106, and then I started looking at my numbers, like, hey now, somehow I'm in the ballpark. I said, well, let's just try running out, try to conserve these tires, and I pulled off for Joe Branch because I noticed he was on my gearbox, and I had no idea what happened to Edson. I was watching him; he was on fire. He was coming through the field pretty quick, and shout out to Daniel too. He came up through the field pretty quick too. He had a bad pit stop. It's unfortunate for him though. But as far as the fuel, man, I was able to do 70 laps, and I guess about 20 laps to go, I started running map 1, and it was all clean and burned to the end.
So we saw, speaking of the hot temperatures out there, we saw really a large drop off in the lap times from the beginning of the stint to the end of the stint. So did you find it difficult to run the same line through much of your stint as the tires started to wear? Because I imagine you must have worn the tires down into the 20 or 30% range. So how difficult was it to really change your lineup, especially later on when you saw drivers around you kind of taking the low line and getting the better advantage?
Speaking of that, I'll answer your question where my tires are at. 38 was on my right front.
Boom, right on the money.
Dude, you're pretty close. I did not like to run the top lane at all because I felt like if you run the top, you burn the dog, out of your right front. And I had to change the line. I had to run up there because the lap cars, the way they were running the bottom. I really wanted to run the bottom. It was so hard to run a consistent line because turn 3 is like really hard to keep it on the bottom. Just the way.
Talk about your. You could really just map the whole situation with Branch there for the last bunch of laps.
God!
So you could explain the line usage right there because you were on the top for that whole run.
Yeah, I didn't want to be up there. I did not want to be up there. The thing is, it's really hard to pass off of turn 3, especially 3 and 4. I'm sorry, 3 and 4, entry of 3 to the exit of 4 because. I don't know how it is. It's just the way you coming off the corner there. It's just you catch up to the wall so quick, and it forces the car on the bottom to pretty much he has to lift and because he needs the whole track if you're going to run the bottom. And if I run that top there, I'm really going to try and force him to cook his right front up. And I don't know if I would have held him off for another 2 laps. I think he would have had me because he was doing a much better job of saving his tires than me.
Yeah, it seemed like he had a much nicer run through 1 and 2 on the bottom, and he would really get next to you. But as soon as you get to turn 3, like you said, once you get to the bottom, the car starts to wash. So, yeah, I would have liked to see what happened for those last 2 laps there, last 2 or 3 laps.
Yes,
because
same here.
It could have gone either way.
Yep. Yeah, I really wanted to play out. I was kind of shocked we actually had a caution, and I would really wanted to see what would happen. Me being a league admin, it really doesn't matter if I finished first, second, third, fourth, fifth. It's really all about these guys here.
No, it was a really good show. I say everybody did a really good job, and like I said, the fuel mileage definitely threw a few guys off. Unfortunately, it looked like, but as a whole, though, I mean, yeah, it was a great event tonight, I'd say. So definitely all the drivers did an awesome job tonight, Matt. But we got to give you the floor for that podium tonight. Any thanks or shout outs you want to give, man?
Oh, I'd like to shout out for the guys who showed up here tonight, all 21 guys. I really do appreciate you. Thank you so much. Shout out to you guys up in the booth. You guys do a very good job. I love hearing your insights there, Andrew. I go back and watch your smart analysis, as I like to say. It's pretty good. Trust me. You may not think it, but it's pretty good. Um, Shout out to TWR. Love you guys. Other than that, that's all I got. Other than that, y'all take care and have a good night.
Good job tonight, Matt. Looking forward to seeing more of you, Ben.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right, we got to jump one car forward, and that is going to be to that number 72 of Eric Schaus. So we're going to grab Eric on in over here. And so, Eric, we saw the pit stop around 64 or so, and then we see Mark go to 70. And so I start getting nervous. I'm like, all right, this is going to be a lot tougher for Eric now. I mean, what did you feel like you were going to be good to the end on that fuel stop at 64, or you're like, okay, I got to make sure I back it down to make it to the end? I mean, what was the kind of the plan and mindset and at that point?
To be honest, I did not think about it at all, which was my big mistake this race. I was running map 3 when he was running map 5, so that's why I came in a couple laps before him. Should have been map 5 the whole time. I think I had the pace, so there was no excuse not to be in map 5. And yeah, that cost me. I mean, coming to the end there, I had just enough to make it, but I wasn't able to push it all. I had to lift into a lot of the corners to make it, and that cost me the race.
So I know we're only about halfway through the season, Eric, but what are you thinking in terms of championship? How can you stop Murphy from pulling so far away from you? And it just seems like you and him are just going toe to toe here. And it looked like you had a little bit of the advantage at the start of the race, and then you guys kind of switched positions a few times and everything like that. So what's going through your head here of how you're going to treat the rest of the season going forward?
Yeah, he's got a pretty big lead in points right now, so I'll give him a run for it. I don't know that I'll have the steam to get there. I'm definitely picking up pace here in the second half of the season, so I'm racing better. I had a rough start to the season, a little rust to knock off. Racing better now, so give him a run for it. But that 60-point lead he's got is pretty nice.
Yeah, it's always nice. And I was looking at the points, and so we were talking about the drop weeks, Andrew, and so it just clicked over. So now with the one drop week, Eric does jump to second in points. But yeah, like Eric mentioned, it's a decent margin now. It's a 61-point lead. So I say one of these, you never want to root for bad luck for somebody, but I say he's going to need a little bit of a bad luck. But again, there's still, I think, about half the season to go, so a lot can happen. And I mean, I feel like the last couple of races too, you've been on a pretty good tear as well. So you never know how the things will shift in these races. So yeah, it was a really good run, Eric. I was happy because we had a certain viewer come back onto YouTube, so I was excited about that one.
I told her you said to get on, so I'm glad she listened.
All right, well, I wasn't sure if how it worked out, but I'm glad she's up pop on for a little bit. I say it was always fun working with her, kind of the blast from the past with when we were doing this before. So, but yeah, man, a hell of a job tonight, Eric. Like I said, unfortunately, the fuel mileage didn't quite go to your plan. But I mean, the pace was there, and it's one of those things like you had everything, just not the fuel mileage tonight. But knowing you'll have that adjustment ready to go for if that opportunity comes again. So definitely don't hang your head on this one, and look forward to seeing you on track again soon. But of course, got to give you the floor for any thanks and shout outs for that podium tonight.
Yeah, thanks. It's hard to be upset with a second place. So it was a good race. Actually, it was a great race. So shout out to Mark. Fantastic job. Same to Matt for his podium. Thanks to you guys in the broadcast, and thanks to my wife and child for watching. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so once she can reach pedals, let's get her on in car too. I want to see what she can do.
Definitely.
All right, great job tonight, Eric. Look forward to seeing you again soon, man.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, that leaves us one fella left to chat with, And that is going to be this guy right here, that number 69 of Mark Murphy, getting win number 3 of the season. Mark, the top 5 streak broke last week at Las Vegas. It was just all around, just didn't go to plan for you. And you came back with a vengeance tonight, get in second place in qualifying, getting the lead, and running great fuel mileage and outrunning everybody for the fuel side while leading this race. I mean, is this about the best you could have hoped for kind of a rebound race, if you can call it that, from last week?
Yeah, I mean, sure did need it, Gail. I mean, last week was, at the end of the day, that's my fault for putting my car in a position where something like that could happen, and reflect on it a week and come back and say, just don't put yourself in that position again. It was pretty clear from practice that one stop was possible. It was also pretty clear that you were going to have to work real hard to get there. And I think when I tested it out, map 3 would get you 66 laps, and you needed roughly 70 on the first run to be safe. And I don't think I took the car out of map 5 except for the initial start. I think I ran map 1 down to turn 1, and I had it in map 5 by the time I come off of 2. You had to save fuel. You had to save your right front. You had to really baby it. And of course, the more you save gas, the easier going in the corner and the easier it is on the tires. And I would choose tires. I learned something from your teammate Andrew at here in the IES race. He beat me, but he had that car. Rob had that car so loosened up, and so I was just working at it, trying to make it just as free as I could stand it, and it worked out. We didn't hurt the right front near as bad as some of the other guys, and then lifting as much as I was, it saved so much. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever got on board with me, but I was off the gas halfway down the back trying to save fuel. I got to thank old Nick DeGroot, because I pulled up on him with 10 to go or 5 to go or whatever it was, and I said, man, this is a gift. And I followed him around running about third throttle for a couple of laps, and that was the difference. I think I'd have had enough to turn it back up, and Schaus made another run, but I think Race Lab said I was 0.2 of a gallon the good, so I probably could have run 2 or 3 laps at full scoot if I'd have needed to, but thankfully didn't need to.
Well, you kind of answered the single question that I feel like I have left to ask. It was such a quick race with not a lot of action that I was going to ask you about the fuel situation. But how about this? What was your take on, because you knew you were going to save the amount of fuel that you needed to save, what was your idea of what position you wanted to run? Did you want to run up the front mostly? Did you kind of feel like you wanted to save even more fuel sitting behind Eric, for example? Or did you really just feel like just being out front was the best place for you to be, because you'd have to make the other drivers come past you in order to get the lead?
Well, I knew he was 5 laps short on fuel of me, and I knew that I was going to be, right on the line. I mean, it was not a given for the first 25 laps of the final run that I was going to make it. When I came out of the pits, I thought, oh, well, I got 65 laps, and you can do 66 pretty easy. And I looked down, and Race Labs kept bouncing back and forth. You're a 10th good, you're a 10th short, and it varied lap by lap. So it wasn't a given that I was going to make it. And then I knew he had stopped earlier than I did. I think he was 5, 6 laps short of me. I think it was 5, but I knew he had less fuel, less petrol in the tank than I did. So when he started coming after me, I said, all right, well, you go ahead. I'll let you run out. I wanted to lead, though. I did not want the one thing I did not want to happen was the freak caution where, you were playing this long game and you got stuck behind somebody, everybody pitted for fresh tires, and then, you had a 20 lap sprint to the end and you were running, you were second, and you'd given up the lead doing the smart thing. So I was trying to kind of play both sides of the street. I wanted to lead it for sure. But it was tough. Like I said, I wasn't fully good until about 10 to go. I was just trying to go fast enough to stay in the lead and not let him get by me. And I knew he was short on fuel. I knew old Stouffer was short on fuel. I knew Wagner was going to be. I knew Wagner was pretty far back there, so I was like, well, I ain't worried about him necessarily. But just I wanted to be leading because I didn't want the freak caution to come out and trap me behind Eric. He's so darn quick, and I knew if he got by me and it reset with plenty of fuel and fresh tires, it was going to be a fight to get by him, and I didn't want to do that. So I was trying to lead it, but trying to save gas at the same time. It wasn't easy for sure.
Well, you bring up a good point there because, Eric had nothing to lose really because he knew he probably had to pit again anyway, unless he really wanted to go into a mega fuel save. So it really could have put you back if he had really just said, you know what, throw caution to the wind. Let me just kick it up and hope for a caution. That way I'm the leader. So you bring up a good point there.
Yeah, and look, I mean, he's a smart guy, and you can and you're Andrew, you've been doing this a long time. You can kind of tell when guys are going for it and when guys are running it lean. And when he passed
I'm
me
watching
there,
and calling it, so you're absolutely right.
I mean, I looked at it like this: when he came up there and went by me, I mean, Matt and I were in Discord together, and I glanced up the lap time, and I said, there ain't no way he can make it. You know what I mean? Go on ahead. So I let him go, and then it started saving gas, and then I went, well, wait a minute, I better catch him. And I think about that time he realized he didn't have enough, and he backed off and let me go again. But I had used that situation to save, a tenth of a gallon, which was basically the balance of what I needed. So, you know, him going by me there was a blessing, but I didn't want him to stay up there. I was going to save enough and then go back by him again, because again, I didn't want the freak caution that reset the race, and then you're second and you're trying to pass somebody that's plenty fast. You don't want that when you've got the thing under control, for sure.
You're working hard. So you made it look easy, I think is what I took out of it, honestly. I mean, you were on it from start to finish time, and it was a really good run. Like I said, strategy was top on. Like I said, to go 70 laps while being up front the whole time, just really, really impressive to see. And like I said, I mean, I feel like that's about as much of a complete race that to put together as you can do. So definitely huge just shout out for you for that one. That's not an easy thing to do all the way around, man. So but before we let you go and enjoy this one, always got to give you the floor and give any thanks and shouts for that win this evening.
Yeah, I mean, I got to thank everybody at Indy Alliance Racing. It was really Jesper and Seb that kind of taught me how to do what I did today in the IIS race here, and being able to go fast and save fuel and save tires here is king. And all credit to them guys for showing me how to do it. I got to thank Gary Godso, P1 Broadcasting, all the folks over there. This is kind of my second thing now. Doing the broadcast is kind of the main thing now, and I got to call one with Andrew the other day. That was quite a bit of fun. We made an eight car Grand Prix look pretty interesting. So kudos to him. He's top shelf, and thanks for that. Black Magic Designs for the paint, of course. Go see Andy Dunwoody over there for a paint that's worth 2/10. And if you're a race controller out there and you need a custom button box that's got all the shortcuts and so forth for iRacing, hit up Admin Box. Fish makes a pretty neat deal, and he'd be happy to get you set up. So thanks to them guys for all their support, and I definitely appreciate it. And we could take a week off. I'm going on vacation, so that fell absolutely perfect for me. I don't get to miss a race, and we go to my worst track on the 11th.
Yeah, I was saying, we are off next week's time. I'm sure now all the competitors are like, oh man, why'd you give us an off week if Mark's gonna be gone? So definitely go enjoy that, man. It's always good to get the breaks when you can get them, for sure. So and I don't know, I feel like Indy's gonna be its own animal on that one. So we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, like you said, go enjoy this one. Go enjoy your vacation as well. And look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time, sir.
Will do. Gail, Andrew, thank you so much for having me up here. Thanks to everybody at Area 51 that runs this league. Y'all keep going fast and having fun here.
Thank you, sir. You as well. Congrats again.
Yes, sir.
All right, Andrew, that is our race winner, Mark Murphy. And as he alluded to, we are off of next week, be our off week, and then we are back at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, kind of the crown jewel, if you will. So that not going to be the season finale this time. We're going to kind of put that one kind of dead smack middle in the season, but it'll be good to have the off weekend between it. That's always a really, really fun race. So that one's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of strategies can change on that one, Andrew. That's definitely not a pit as late as you can. You can short pit there and stay on the lead lap, and so strategy can really change, and we'll definitely be seeing the swap draft kind of come back and show what it can do in 2 weeks' time.
And Indianapolis in February is definitely a different sort of vibe that these guys probably are not used to, but it always puts on great racing. I've called, I believe, 2 Indy races with you, Indianapolis races with you, and both were electrifying, especially ones that came down to the very last lap. And I can't imagine that it would be anything different for when we come back here in 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, and so we're actually this was the halfway point of the season. So after this week, obviously we'll be off next week, but then we kick off the final stretch, which will start off at Indianapolis. Then we got Chicagoland, Texas, Pocono, Phoenix, Kentucky, and then finishing up at Auto Club. So we've got a couple really, I mean, to me, I got 3 of the tracks to run. Obviously, Michigan was the one we ran earlier, but we've got Indy, Pocono, Auto Club. Those are ones I always have on my radar. And then kind of like in Iowa tonight, we're going to have the short oval of Phoenix, and that say just by chance falls on April 1st. So we'll see who gets the April Fools on that one. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. But Andrew, as always, man, it's a pleasure doing this with you. It's always fun to hang out. I'm glad you get to have some fun over with Mark as well on the broadcast side of things. I know I've been able to spy on you on track a little bit here and there, so it's kind of fun to see you kind of all over the place with the open wheel stuff as well. So yeah, it's a pleasure doing these with you, man.
Yeah, I guess I can't get away from you. Now I got you stalking me everywhere, so I'll have to try and come up with more incognito ways of getting around the iRacing little atmosphere here.
Yeah, you got to start making those alt accounts. You're going to have to spend money to hide from me. But no, again,
I'm down for that.
But no, man, it's a pleasure doing this with you. As I always appreciate your time and effort and all the knowledge. It's huge for me. So, and then yeah, everybody that watches and supports us here at Green White Checkered TV, it's always a pleasure. Seth, Rachel, it's great seeing you guys back on the chat. And again, we've got more racing coming soon. The Super Speedway series on Thursdays and Sundays is going to be coming back again very shortly as well. It'll be the trucks on Thursday nights and the Gen 4 cars on Sunday nights. And again, those will be on the Super Speedway side of things. And yeah, so you can find out more info at area51iracing.com for those. But until then, though, we'll be off for a few weeks' time, and we'll be back again for Indy here with the Indy cars at Indianapolis. So hope you have a wonderful week, have a wonderful evening. And of course, as always, till next time, take care, stay safe, and have a good night.